Sophie was a young, up-and-coming gymnast. Blonde hair, blue eyes, high cheekbones, razor-sharp jawline, perfect amount of muscle, and hips only a gymnast could achieve. Her only flaw was her shoulders, which were slightly too wide and boxy for a girl of her size and weight. But I'm told it was to her advantage on the mats, as it gave her great power and made her look much more dominant in competition. She was 18 when the incident happened. Another gymnast, one that always placed in second or third behind Sophie in state championships, hired a man to beat Sophie's legs with a hammer. The girl had no direct connections to someone that could do the job right, so she hired a family friend who was addicted to PCP to do the job. Now the only instructions she gave the junkie was to smash Sophie's legs to bits with a hammer. And if you've ever known a junkie, you know they would need a little bit more help than that in committing such a heinous crime correctly. Such as a correct time and place, but all the junkie had was the action itself. So this motherfucker pulls up mid-competition with a rubber mallet, sprints over to Sophie, gets 2 good hits off on her right knee before getting taken down by security. Sophie was left with a cracked kneecap, slight ligament damage, and some nasty looking bruising. Sophie did not compete that day, or for the next 9 months, meaning that she missed her chance at World Championships. The other girl did compete that day, and finished second. She told local news afterwards that she could not compete to her full capacity as she was too worried about Sophie's condition. She also got her chance at World Championships. She finished 26th, and people at the championship said it was a weak year, and if Sophie was there in full health, she would have had a good shot at first place. But about 3 months after the World Championships, Sophie was back on the mat and getting back to her old self rather quickly. She also clearly did a lot of study in her time of rehab, as she managed to become left leg dominant without even touching the mat. The other girl was scared that if she placed outside of the top 30 in World Championships, she would lose her main sponsor, Harry's Razors. And if she lost this sponsorship, she would no longer be able to be a gymnast full-time and have to work for her mother's real estate business. She also knew that the new competitors coming into World Championships this year would knock her down at least 3 or 4 places, leaving her bang on 30th spot. And she had not improved much since last year, so she couldn't even be confident she would get similar scorings to the last World Championships. She told me that top 30 was about 25% likely, and that's if she performed to the maximum of her ability. And that's where I come in. Basically, she knows a guy who knows a guy who knows me. My job is making accidents happen and then putting the systems in place so that people can't recover. So my first step was to get to know Sophie, which was not hard at all, as the other girl was completely obsessed with her. When she wakes up, what she eats, where she works out, who she dates, and what she hates. I learned from the other girl's knowledge that she had been on painkillers for her knee, and she had been placed on a 3-month cycle, but she had continued the cycle for up to 7 months unofficial from the doctors. So with this knowledge, I came up with a plan. I would break into Sophie's house, switch out her painkillers with ones that are much more addictive and had much worse side effects, such as weight gain, depression, and weakening joints. Getting into Sophie's house was almost saddeningly easy. I'm just happy I was sent by a competitor and not an ex-boyfriend or something like that. I got to change the pills with no fuss. I did this about 25 times altogether. The results were something, I have to say, I was rather proud of. It seemed to Sophie and the rest of the world that her knee had hugely impacted her ability on the mat. But when she got a further checkup, the doctor said it was perfect again. I think this is what ruined her, knowing that she would never be as good a gymnast as she was at 18. By the time I changed out the pills for the 11th time, Sophie had lost about 15 pounds of muscle and put on the equivalent in fat. By the 19th time, she had quit gymnastics altogether, and by the 25th, I found her hanging in her room. I told the other girl, and she just cried and gave me my last payment. Something I find quite funny about this story is the other girl always placed 23rd or above in World Championships after Sophie's death, meaning that even if Sophie was around, it would add little to no consequence on the other girl's sponsorships.
I've lost all of my pride. I've been to paradise and out the other side.